Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvikacharya Sattara Satta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvikacharya Sattara Satta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vatsari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shai Makunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Binda Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Prihamadanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Transcendental Krishna Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Go Premanandi. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga.
For those of us who are here for the first time, the program continues in the temple with a discussion on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and there will be breakfast at around 8:30. So please hang in here. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Chant the glories of the Lord really quickly. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhare. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhare. Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jai Jai Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajakacarya Ashtottara Shata Shishimad, His Divine Loving Grace, Abhay Charnaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Nitai Gaura Premanand. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. It's Thanksgiving, so I want to thank everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time to come and attend. This is the regular group and I'm an outsider, so I am not very qualified, but Tulsi Sakhi Mataji has ordered and Jai Gaurang Prabhu has not done his responsibilities. So we will read today from the Srimad Bhagavatam. I believe we are Canto 9, Chapter 18, text 34. Is that right? Can we put this on the board somehow? Whoever is controlling. Okay. So then we'll be going through this. So I, not sure exactly how this works, but we have. So do we repeat the 39th verse or the 34th verse? I always get confused. 39th. So I'm just going to read text 34 through 39, and then we will discuss apparently text 39. Where is 34? So should I read the Sanskrit? And no Sanskrit? So 39 Sanskrit. Okay, yes, let's please start with the 34th verse.
Text 34 translation. When the proud Devyani understood from outside sources that Sharmishta was pregnant by her husband, she was frenzied with anger. Thus she departed for her father's house.
King Yayati, who was very lusty, followed his wife, caught her and tried to appease her by speaking pleasing words and massaging her feet, but he could not satisfy her by any means.
Sukracharya was extremely angry. You untruthful fool, lusting after a woman, you have done a great wrong. He said, I therefore curse you to be attacked and disfigured by old age and invalidity.
King Yati said, O learned, worshipable Brahman, I have not yet satisfied my lusty desires with your daughter. Shukracharya then replied, You may exchange your old age with someone who will agree to transfer his youth to you.
When Yayati received this benediction from Shukracharya, he requested his eldest son, My dear son Yadu, please give me your youth in exchange for my old age and invalidity.
Text okay. 39 verses. Should we first read the... Yeah.
My dear son, I am not yet satisfied in my sexual desires, but if you are kind to me, you can take the old age given by your maternal grandfather, and I may take your youth, so that I may enjoy life for a few more years.
So we will be chanting this verse. Text 39 of the 9th canto, chapter 18. Mata mahakritam vatsa natrapto vishayeshvaham vayasa bhavadiyena ramshe katipaya यह समा मातामह कृतं वत्स न तृप्तो विषयेष्वहं वयसा भवदीयेन रंशे कतिपया समः मातामह कृतं वत्स न तृप्तो विषयेष्वहं वयसा भवदीयेन रंशे कतिपया समः
मातामह कृतं वत्सा न तृप्तो विषयेष्वहम् वयसा भवदीयेन रंशे कतिपयाः समाः माता कृतं वत्स न तृप्तो विशेषहम् वयसा भवदीयेन रम्यसे कतिपयाः समाः
मातामह कृतां वत्स
मातामहं ततं
न तप्तो विषयेष्वहम्
तृप्तो विषयेष्वहम्
वयसा भवदीयेन
वयसा भवदीयेन
रम्यसे कतिपयासमः
रम्ये कतिपयाः समाः
Matamaha Kritam, given by your maternal grandfather Shukracharya. Vatsa, my dear son, na, not, triptaha, satisfied, vishayeshu, in sex life, sense gratification, aham, I am, vayasa, by age, bhavadiyena, of your good self, ramshe, I shall enjoy sex life, katipaya, for a few, samha, years. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charana Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. So the translation we read, my dear son, I am not yet satisfied in my sexual desires, but if you are kind to me, you can take the old age given by your maternal grandfather, and I may take your youth, so I may enjoy life for a few years more. Purport. This is the nature of lusty desires. In Bhagavad Gita 7:20, it is said, Kamastaste Rityajnana. When one is too attached to sense gratification, he actually loses his sense. The word Rityajnana refers to one who has lost his sense. Here is an example. The father shamelessly asked his son to exchange youth for old age. Of course, the entire world is under such illusion. Therefore, it is said that everyone is pramatta, or exclusively mad. Nyunam pramatta kurute vikarma. When one becomes almost like a madman, he indulges in sex and sense gratification. Sex and sense gratification can be controlled, however, and one achieves perfection when he has no desire for sex. This is possible only when one is fully Krishna conscious. Yadavadhi mama cheta Krishna padaravinde navanava rasadham niudyatam rantumasit. Tadavadhi vatanari sangame smarayamane mane bhavati mukha vikara shushtu nishtivanam cha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in Him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. Sexual desire can be stopped only when one is fully Krishna conscious and not otherwise. As long as one has desires for sex, one must change his body and transmigrate from one body to another to enjoy sex in different species or forms. But although the forms may differ, the business of sex is the same. Therefore it is said, Punah punascharvitam charvanana. Those who are very much attached to sex transmigrate from one body to another with the same business of chewing the chewed, tasting sex enjoyment as a dog, sex enjoyment as a hog, sex enjoyment as a demigod, and so on. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Mugyanatimirandhasya jnananjana shalakya chakshush unmilit tasmai shri gurave namah. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate kiram yat kripadam ham vande shri gurum dinatar. I don't know what Nainanvita and Jaishnav are going to get from this class. I have no idea what is going on. And it happens thus that we are little and there is really no understanding, at least, of anything to do with sex desire. And at some point of time that automatically shows up, and we will see young kids are very much interested in saying, okay, I'm not going to get married, this thing, so on and so forth. And all of a sudden, when a certain age happens, the body naturally transforms and wants to engage in desires which are present within the consciousness but is not manifest as yet. Now, there are several instances, and we can go in various different directions as far as this is concerned, but the basic principle, I think Srimad Bhagavatam discusses Pumsha Striya Maithuni Bhavame Tat Tayor Mitho Hridaya Granthi Rayodaya Tatha Griya Kshetra Suta Aptavitte Janasya Moho Yamaham Mameti. Right? I mean, this primary, basic, fundamental situation that the relationship between whenever there is opposite sex, then there is Maithuni Bhavam, there is a desire to enjoy each other on the bodily platform. Yes. And that creates a knot in the heart. And that knot is extremely strong. Yes, Hridaya Granthi. Yes. Have you ever tied, do you make garlands, Nainanvita? And sometimes you have this string and you tie 2 knots. And then the only thing you can do is to break it apart. The knot is very difficult to get rid of. The knot has been around for millions and millions of lifetimes. Srila Prabhupada is explaining that, we go nyunam pramatta kurute vikarma yat indriya prityato aparanoti. Yes, that because we want to enjoy our senses, we are constantly building on that knot. Building on that knot. And it does not really matter how much we try to disengage from it by our own endeavor. It just gets worse. Yes, and so the next part of the verse goes, Griya Kshetra Suta, Tho Griya Kshetra Suta Aptavitte. Yes. So as soon as man and woman is there, then there is marriage. Then marriage is leading to having a house and possessions and land and children, Sutta. And then there is properties, and there is a job, and then there is retirement, and then there is savings, and then there is children's and children's children, and there is education, and there are so many different things, yes, that get added onto that knot, and under the guise of responsibility, we accept that as reality. And in several cases, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned that it's just for a little bit of enjoyment which does not last even a few minutes, we take lifetimes of suffering. And there is no way, and it apparently seems there is no way out. Apparently seems there is absolutely no way out. Just keeps going over and over and over again. And then in that entrapped situation, when we see that there is really nothing we can do, then to try to finding the way out requires us to get back to the root cause of why this actually happened. Why did this happen the way it is? And if we don't really do that, then really we are addressing the symptom and not the root cause. And that is our senses are uncontrolled. That we continue to identify ourselves as the body and the enjoyment of the body as our enjoyment. Our intelligence is lost because of this situation. And for this august audience that we have, even those that are listening online, we know that we have heard this like 1,000,000 times at least. Yes. So the question that is asked is, and as Srila Prabhupada has mentioned, unless one is fully Krishna conscious, there is no way of overcoming this desire for sex life. Yes, and a yayati is not an ordinary individual by any stretch of imagination. Yes. And he understands his situation, and he understands that he is completely engrossed, he's completely enamored, he's completely encaptured with the desire for sex life, so much so that he's asking his own son. Like it's like Radha Krishna Prabhu all of a sudden getting old and saying, Jaishnav. Yes. Or Nainanvita, give me your youth so that I can do Rasa Leela or something. Right? It's really incredible that such a very elevated personality, a king, so much control, and who has already come to a point where there has been enjoyment in his life to the extent that he's having children with his wife's maidservants. Sharmishta, of course, there's a long story that goes behind it, but effectively that's the situation. So what will it take for us to come to the point of complete Krishna consciousness? And Srimad Bhagavatam specifically gives these examples before we come to the situation of the 10th canto of Krishna exactly doing what we're not supposed to, right? Or something like that, at least saying that we are going to enjoy with the gopis in Vrindavan. That he's going to be engaging in those activities which apparently may seem externally to be representing sex life. And before we get there, we have to be our baseline should be completely clear that the external manifestations of sex life have nothing to do with the spiritual expressions of our love for Krishna and for each other. And the enjoyments of the spiritual world, even in Madhurya Ras, have absolutely nothing to do with the enjoyments of sex life in the material world. Those are completely two different things. But unless and until we have an experience of that enjoyment of the spiritual world, there is no chance of us giving up the enjoyment of the material world. And that enjoyment of the spiritual world is only possible when we actually engross ourselves completely in the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, in the association of devotees. That that the chanting of the holy names cannot be done at the same platform as the platform of material enjoyment. Do we agree? Or is that an appropriate statement? That the chanting of the holy names cannot be done on the same platform as the enjoyments of the material world. When I say that, I mean that the chanting of the holy names cannot be done for a purpose which is material. Yes. It's not to just relieve ourselves of some stress. It is not to do it just because it's something we have to do. It is our key to enter Vrindavan. It is our key to enter the spiritual world. And that entry into the spiritual world is impossible unless we have absolutely no desire or interest in any kind of material enjoyment. Yes. And again, we know this. So the question is, what is it that is preventing us from taking that step? What is it that is preventing us from saying, this is it? I understand. But I have to give this up. And we have to really go, and each one of us individually in this room will have, not just in this room, in this planet, will have our own, anarthas that are preventing us from taking that next step. Individually, each one of us will be different. Yes. And at different points of life, we'll just not being able to get there. But there are certain commonalities, and we'll try to see if we can collectively come up to some understanding of what those things are that allow us to free us from this poisonous visha. Yes. Narottam Das Thakur phrase. Vishaya Vishama Visha Satata Khaino. Yes. That this Vishama, this extremely dangerous Visha. Of what? Vishaya. Of trying to enjoy. I'm constantly drinking it. So Gaura Kirtana Rase. That I'm not able to find any enjoyment in the Kirtan of the holy names. And even if I find enjoyment just for a few minutes or a few seconds, and all of a sudden I'm taken back to a world where it's incredible. And what is the manifestation of that, right? And Bhagavad Gita talks about it also from that. So, Vishayavini vartante niraharasya dehina. Raso varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Where is that higher taste? Why am I not getting the higher taste? And I have some thoughts on this, but I'll just start with something, and it kind of flows into the theme of today's of where we are today. So we understand the problem. The problem definition really is that there is no way out of sex life without dash. Yes, and Srila Prabhupada says that dash is that blank is that we have to completely get engrossed in Krishna consciousness. So then the question is, what is it that prevents us from getting completely engrossed in Krishna consciousness? So the one part of the answer is that we are still attached to the material side of things. We're still attached to sex life. We're still attached. And when I say sex life, there is the gross sex life, which is the easier part, right? Which is the external manifestations. We want to really show off externally, how wonderful we are, and this, that, and the other, and to enjoy physically that particular process. But there is subtle sex life also, right? Yes, labman pratishta. Yes, profit, adoration, and distinction. Yes, which is probably more prevalent within at least my life. Um, um, and as devotees, that's probably the biggest challenge. The subtle sex life. And that subtle sex life leads to material sex life, yes. That we want profit, that everything that we do has to have, I do Ekadashis because such and such has to happen. Yes, I chant the holy names because I do such and such thing because, and then because the next two things happen, right? There is adoration and there is distinction. Yes, I'm going to perform certain austerities, this, that, and the other, because I am recognized as a great devotee. I'm going to perform kirtan. I'm going to chant the holy names because I'm going to be recognized as a kirtanier. I'm going to perform bhakti because I want to be recognized as a bhakta, as a devotee of Krishna, because that carries a lot of weight. I'm going to take care of my family in a way that is Krishna conscious because of recognition. So these are subtle elements of sex life. So then, how do we become completely Krishna conscious? Free from sarvobadhi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam. Yes, nirmalam. It has to be mala. Yes, there is dirt. There is well, we perform devotional service. There is mala. There is some disturbance. Nirmala. So what is it that will take to the point of nirmala? Yes. So sarvobadhi vinirmuktam. Yes. So our upadhis have to be out. All our identifications with the external body, identifications of our identity, if I may not, our identity of anything other than what we really should be, has to be gone. Vinirmuktam. We have to be freed. That's the basic liberation, if I may, that we need. Is that we are freed from those identities which are incorrect. Yes, right? Like Shyamsundar Prabhu may identify himself as a great baker. But he definitely, but he can't identify himself with that. It's not possible. Yes. But what is our identity, right? So, some thoughts. One is that Krishna consciousness is not, we are not entitled to perform any service to Krishna. We don't have any, we can't go about saying that I'm so great, I'm chanting. I'm so great that I'm performing some service for Krishna. I'm cooking for Krishna, I'm dressing the deities, I'm performing kirtan. We have no qualifications. Do we agree? We have no qualifications to perform absolutely any service for Krishna at all. But we are still given the opportunity by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, his disciples, by those devotees who have personally taken care of us, brought us to where we are, and by their grace, by their love, we have the opportunity to perform devotional service. Now, that means there is gratitude. We are actually, in India, how many of us were in engineering schools in India? Anyone? Yeah. And of course, any college for that matter. And there are certain passing percentages, right? In the 40 or something like that, out of 100. If you don't get that, you fail. You have to do this class again. And there's to be times, and it happened several times in my life, that you get, 32. Yes, you failed. But then there is grace marks. Have you seen grace marks? How many of you have received grace marks? Yes, by the grace of the divine professors, they'll give you the remaining 8 marks so that you pass. So then you are at 40. Right? You pass the exam, you go on to the next stage. So, it's impossible. I mean, if you don't get that grace, you repeat that class again. You keep going like that. And I've known students who have done the same class like 7 times and not been able to. They're in the 4th year of that engineering school, and they haven't passed the mechanics exam, which was the first semester of their college. And they repeated that 7 times, and they wouldn't pass. And eventually someone said, okay, you passed everything else except that this class, grace marks, get you out of here. So any opportunity we have, anything that we get to do, is we have to be grateful. Whether it's, being able to even get up in the morning. Just get up is incredible, isn't it? What power do we have to just get up from bed? None. Yes. Within a moment, things can happen that will prevent us from just getting up from bed. Yes. Then what power do we have to, walk from one place to the other? To drink water. And as we get older, to pass water. I know even my in-laws, now, they have to, he has to carry a bag because the water it doesn't have the power to just leave the body by itself. Yes, and pass stool. And we can't even do that. Take a shower. All of these things we take for granted. Let alone then coming to the temple, being able to see the deities, to have the power to even see, and then to see the deities of the Lord. And then to be in the association of those who also have those same inclinations to see the deities of the Lord. And every single day to come and glorify Srila Prabhupada. Yes. So when our identities are rooted in an expression of grace, that we don't have any identity separate from the grace of the devotees and the deities and the gurus. No other identity. Yes. Narottam Das Thakur prays, and Narottam Das Thakur is Yogyata vichare kachu nai pai, tomara karuna sar. Yes, I don't have any qualification, but everything is your grace. Yes. We have to be rooted in that one identity. Otherwise, we feel entitled. And then when we feel entitled, we feel resentful when we are not able to do that thing, particular service. Or we expect things out of certain situations. Right. There is no situation that we can be put in where we cannot perform devotional service. And sometimes, in this particular verse, we'll see Yayati kind of getting into that big mess, saying that if I'm the Kshatriya, I'm supposed to do this, or, I have these so much desires that I have to, old age invalidity is going to happen. Shukracharya just expedited that process. That's all he did. He said, okay, now you're old. You're not going to be old like 1,000 years from now. And everything that goes around with that invalidity, because we identify with that, because our enjoyment is connected with the external material manifestations that we have. Then we get disturbed, we get resentful, we get depressed. But if our identity is purely saying, in whatever situation I am, yes, what is the Shikshashtakam talks about, yes. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagdisha kame. Mama janmani janmanish. Bhavatat bhakti ahetuki. Please, in whatever situation you put me, please allow me to serve you, my Lord. Yes. But unless we are really grateful for even that situation which may seem extremely contrary to performing our devotional service, if you're not grateful, if we are not grateful for that, then we will be resentful. We may even leave the association of devotees. Or we may stay on the periphery. Yes. Or we may start complaining, which is even worse, and even criticizing. Yes. If we start identifying too much with our body, only Indians should be doing this, or only Americans, or only white-bodied people, only people that look like this are eligible for Krishna consciousness. And we may justify that by so many different ways. Only I deserve to have certain benefits, if I may, of being a devotee because of such and such things. Be in terrible trouble. As a movement, as not just individually, as collectively, we get into that situation. We forget what really is our identity. What are we? Why are we here? In what situation? Whichever situation we are is a situation which we embrace, and we see what it takes to actually follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and move on. So again, Thanksgiving is there, so we can be grateful, and I'd like to take a couple of minutes to really be grateful for so many devotees who have made an enormous difference in my life. And of course, I cannot, definitely not make justice, and I forget because of my envious nature so many different devotees. But definitely thank you to all of you. When I came in, it was wild. I'm still wild, but more domesticated wild than completely wild. Mother Manjuvali, don't know if you remember Mother Padaduli, and Rasikendra Prabhu, Nityan Prabhu, Mother Kunkumangi and Narottamananda Prabhu. There were not very many devotees here during that time. And, in spite of whatever I was, they allowed me to fry pakoras. So, very incredibly. That's all I did for about a year before I even came to the temple, I think. Probably peeked into the temple for about 15 minutes. The rest of the time I was frying pakoras downstairs. Because at that point of time, there was just one cook every Sunday. It's Padatuli Mataji and Rasikendra Prabhu. And it's really nice. And then Radha Vinod Prabhu, we used to do the cut-ups in the morning, first thing in the morning, do the cut-ups. And when you do the cut-ups, during Sunday there was a special feast at the restaurant. It was, you get a plate, and there was certain things that the Rasha Prabhu would do. He would make the tofu fish sticks. Have you ever had those? Tofu fish sticks? No? Wow. And then plantain pakoras with horseradish and fried rice. Fantastic feast. And so we used to get a coupon for that. So we used to first serve the Rasha Prabhu. So and he would be running around he would manage that entire feast all by himself. And it's a little bit of a process. You have to marinate the tofu, then you have to put it in batter, and then you have to bake it. But he used to do that every single Sunday. And very grateful to him. And but Padma came a little bit later on, but essentially she transformed the entire restaurant to what it is right now. At that point of time, it was a free for all. And at some point, believe it or not, we were losing money in the restaurant. And so very grateful to Mother Padma for making a considerable change. To the extent that, we had serious troubles, especially with the lawsuit going on against the temple. We're in serious trouble financially. I'm very grateful to, Yogamaya Mataji, Shamananda Prabhu, Panda Vijay Prabhu, Shakuntala Mataji, they were there, Shalagram Prabhu, Mother Kunti. Then when Rasakeli came, she worked with Mother Jayanti, and I think she was teaching. I think all these, Narsingha was his age. Jaishnava's age. Really little kids, and so she was part of the teaching situation under Mother Kunkumangi. I think Mother Kunkumangi was also a teacher there. And I think, was she? I don't remember, but yeah, I think. And so, and then later on, we had, we moved. We were always a little bit in the suburbs. So Krishnakanta Prabhu and his wife, Radhastuti Mataji, kind of helped us kind of move on. My god brother Shamsundar Prabhu in Pittsburgh, of course, with the grace of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, were able to continue performing devotional service. And so many friends, Vidurpriya Prabhu and his wife Madhava Mangala Mataji. There was an entire group. Narsinghananda Prabhu was the first one, to actually start a Bhakti Viksha program in the suburbs. And he's now in Florida. He's a disciple of Gopal Krishna Goswami. So he and his god brother, Vidurpriya Prabhu, they started the first, outreach program outside of the temple that we knew of. There was really nothing going on in the suburbs. And there was not much of a suburbs as we know right now. Plano was like real super north. It's like, wow, you guys are in Plano. You're like, wow, where are you? Out in the wilderness. So then, slowly things moved on. We had Ram Vilas Prabhu who had come, who had essentially gave us some inspiration to connect with Guru Maharaj, with Srila Prabhupada in a very realistic way. Allow us to read his books in a way that is more analytical, understand the basis. What is the basis of the faith that we have? Is it just because, it seems right, or do you actually have firm faith in that kind of situation? So many other devotees that have Sankirtan Prabhu and Revati Mataji, they were very much active. They were Prastha Prabhu. Yudhishthir Prabhu was also there during that time. He was the ex-temple president, and Nityananda Prabhu was just transitioning into being the temple president at that point of time. And so they molded who I am. Yes, and that identity that they gave was the identity that, yes, and of course, Srila Gurudev. Yes, the Malkrishna Maharaj was very much present in his, Prakata Leela. Yes. He came a few times and we were listening to him. And he had a vision. He had a vision of what the Dallas temple should be. Yes. And he was manifesting that vision when Srila Prabhupada asked him to do some other service. And we know that in his life he has changed his services from quickly, yes, the whole Radha Damodar party switched all of a sudden and went to China. Yes. So yes, our identities were then given to be those that were grateful for so many different things. And over a period of time, I have really forgotten all those devotees that have been instrumental and continue to be instrumental. And not just you, all of you, Jai Gaurang Prabhu, Gokulananda Prabhu, senior God brothers, Radha Krishna Prabhu inspiration, Deepak Prabhu, yes, Sham Sundar Prabhu as inspirations for us to follow. And so, and I forget, and I, that the vacillation, I guess, the challenge, internal challenge, and it's sweet. And I call it sweet because it's a challenge with yourself. Instead of having to fight with the rest of the world, you fight with yourself and try to figure out, why do I forget? Yes. And in the remembrance of, and in the remembrance of gratitude, I think there is an opportunity to progress and to really get deep in the process of Krishna consciousness. And that is my hope that, in spite of the attachment to external and internal and subtle and gross forms of sex life, the identity, our real identity of being grateful for everything that has been given to us, allows the transformation that is required to go back, to change, or to internally change to that consciousness of being completely engrossed in Krishna's service. We have 1 minute before I'm officially allowed to stop. Do you have any reflections? Gokulananda Prabhu, should I throw this mic at you?
Hare Krishna, Rasraj Prabhu, it was such a wonderful class. And thank you very much for taking us deep into Thanksgiving. Being grateful, which I definitely lack and I really need to work on. So I was just reflecting as you were talking about several things. There is this beautiful verse that comes to my mind, excuse me. Devarshi bhutap tarinam pitarinam. You're talking, in the morning, getting up, just thinking about it, like every single limb of the body has been controlled by devas, demigods, rishis, sages, bhuta, aptarinam, pitarinam. And then Karbhajan, one of the Yogendras, goes on to say, Sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanam gato mukundam parirtakartam. So simply by taking shelter of Mukunda, one is freed from all these dates. So I was thinking, Krishna gave us Bhagavad Gita, how much grateful I should be. There are several beautiful verses like Neha Vikramana Shusi, then Patram Pushpam. So much of concession, discount, heavy discount offered. Then Lord Chaitanya inaugurated the movement of Sankirtan. But all this would have remained hidden to me until Prabhupada, inaugurated ISKCON. So in the form of ISKCON, I came to know about the goal, the process, who am I, basically. So this is the time for me to contemplate. And personally, whenever I see the devotees sharing how they came to Krishna consciousness, then we are transported back into those old golden days when we are new into Krishna. We are very humble, down to earth. So I would like to know how you came to Krishna consciousness.
It's not much of a story, actually. I mean, God brother Shamsundar Prabhu, when I was leaving India, he gave me beads. And he said, he put it in my bag. I had no idea what he had put in. He said, okay. I was like, okay, I'm going to get a cotton customs. I don't know what he's going to do. And he had joined very recently. I mean, he was very new then. This is 96, 95. So when I came here well, I was in Cincinnati for a couple of years, and I moved to Dallas, and then he also, by some arrangement, had come to the U.S. And then he brought me to the temple and brought me to the association of devotees here. And specifically, there were two devotees who I forget to mention, and thank you for reminding me, Ramanuja Prabhu and Gopi Priya Mataji. I don't know whether you know Gopi Priya. She is in Dubai now. And so we went to their house in Texarkana, a couple of hours away, and we were debating, and I was very much into this whole philanthropic idea of, we have to do good to others, and in mode of goodness kind of situation, fighting for the rights of animals and fighting for the rights of people and fighting for the apparent right of how things are supposed to be. And I'm like, how can you ask people to chant when there is a million people that are hungry? There are people that are suffering, people who are oppressed and executed every single day. And what do you expect? How do you expect them to take to Krishna consciousness? And we were debating, and of course he was giving the Krishna conscious perspective, of course, very forcefully, saying that if you're, unless and until their hearts are purified, and as Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here, unless and until there is some internal transformation, exploitation and suffering will be there. And I was not really buying it. But then we went to the Ramanuja Prabhu's house, and they were very simple house. They had no furniture in the house, very simple, very, very nice. They were living very simply. And then Ramanuja Prabhu and Shamsundar Prabhu were discussing some things, but Gopi Priya Mataji had made this wonderful vadas. And it's like I really appreciated the simplicity of their lives. He had a nice job, but living very simply, and very sweet relationship. And I think when I reflect back, I really, I always kind of meditate on the loving simplicity and the genuine desire, their desire to really express their love by sharing Krishna consciousness. Yes, whatever they had, it really touched my heart. And so, I was still on the mental platform, but over a period of time, I think by Shamsundar Prabhu's, Ramanuja Gopi Priya Mataji's desire, if I may, I started coming to the temple. And then, as I said, Paduli, she kind of course, somehow or the other, I'm affiliated with pakoras. So then, we were distributing. So Food for Life was going on there. So I was kind of a little bit part of that. And then I used to go make pakoras. At the same time, he gave me the Bhagavad Gita. And a lot of the questions that I had started getting answered from Srila Prabhupada's book. It really started to make sense. There were loose ends. There were a lot of loose ends. And those loose ends started kind of getting connected. Of course, one of the things that happened before I came to the US was that Shamsundar Prabhu took me to Radha Gopinath Mandir. And I had an opportunity to meet His Holiness Radhanath Swami. And when I say meet, the place was under construction. There were very, very, very few people. And so he called me, he asked me, so I went there, said Hare Krishna. I don't know what I said. I had no idea what was going on. And so he said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Cincinnati. He said, oh, we have a place in Columbus. You should go visit. I had no idea where Columbus was. And he said, okay. I said, okay. And then I left, but I think Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha Sarvasiddhi. So, of course, his divine grace was also very much instrumental. So I had nothing to do with me coming. I still don't have anything to do with me taking to Krishna consciousness. But Srila Prabhupada's books, the grace of his devotees, and the grace of his devotees' is why I'm here. And I think, of course, a lot has to do also with the prasadam. When I came, Mother Manjwali really smothered, and Padatuli Mataji used to make this fantastic burritos and burgers. Have you had burgers from Padatuli Mataji? Oh man, they're fantastic, really, really nice. So I guess I don't know if that's the higher taste, but I did want to mention something that is slightly, and of course, being a Hindu, I used to go to a temple. There's a Swaminarayan temple close to where we lived, and there was this old gentleman and his wife, and they used to save all their prasadam, and it was all sattvic prasadam from their feast. They have a Sunday feast, and they used to give me like a stack, literally a stack of rotis, 2 big bags of curries. and rice, and we were set for the week. Single people who cared. But then I realized, hey, the food is so good. I don't have to be, I don't have to kill to eat, if I may. Right? I was not vegetarian. I used to eat everything other than human beings. But so that also helped. So by the blessings of the devotees, does that? But to your point, yeah. Krishna's grace is everywhere. Yes, it's so beautiful. The rising of the sun. He says rasoham apsukante. Yeah, but so many different ways that we can appreciate what Krishna is personally doing for us in every single moment. I know Ramvilas Prabhu, when he used to come, he'll be the last person to take prasadam, but the only thing probably left for him is chutney. That's the only thing left, green chutney. That's all, because I don't know, for some reason people don't. And he said, this is personally tasted by the Lord. I have so grateful that I can get, and literally he'll have an entire plate full of chutney. Yes. And maybe whatever leftovers that is there. And he was grateful. And now, sometimes, I go in there and I'm like, oh, I didn't get the rotis and I didn't get the sabji and this, that and the other. And I'm reminded of Ramvilas Prabhu saying that, oh, I got the chutney. So yeah, Krishna is the Mahaprasad. Krishna personally tasting, personally eating that thing, and we come in there and we are able to accept that, every single particle of that has the ability to take us back home, back to God. One single particle of Mahaprasad, we read that in the scriptures. Yes. So it's incredible that we have access to this facility. Yes, to see the deities of the Lord, to see the devotees of the Lord, to take the dust of their feet, to serve them in any specific way. So yeah, so many different opportunities that at least I'm too complacent, too covered, conditioned, that I neglect and I'm not able to see what it is. But I'm hoping one day I'll be able to appreciate, be grateful for that. So, any other? Did I completely mess this up? Ladies first.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for being such a wonderful, exemplary devotee and family in this community, your wife, your daughter. We're always grateful for your association. And I can personally thank you for being one of my Bhakti Shastri teachers.
I'm sorry.
My personal spiritual growth is actually very dependent in this association of devotees where I'm listening to Shastra in the morning and for Bhakti Shastri. So thank you for being such a strong pillar of that, of the Shastra department in our temple. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Jai Gaurang Prabhu, you had some corrections to make?
I was just going to express my gratitude. That was a very deep, heartfelt class, and I'm grateful for your giving the class. And
you
please
put me in the spot.
Yeah, give more Bhagavatam or any format in the temple, or nice to hear your realizations. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you, Jai Gaurang Prabhu. Jai Gaurang Prabhu is, I don't know, the entire ISKCON is grateful to him for what he has done. I think really incredible. I've always been very, I can't think of how it would work, but if I were not associated with some background, I knew Krishna, who Krishna was, and this, that, and the other. But for someone coming from a background that is so completely off, and to actually take it to the point where they're bringing, hundreds and thousands of people to Krishna. I don't know how many people have become devotees because of Jai Gaurang Prabhu's efforts all around the world, all around the planet, maybe other planetary systems also. I don't know where he went to distribute books, wherever he went, and extremely wonderful kirtans. It's true, isn't it? Isn't it? Mother Rosie Saki. Jai. And same thing, Gokulananda Prabhu, same thing. Probably like more than a decade, brahmachari, giving everything in spite of so many physical discomforts. I don't know, I would have given up a long time ago. Long time ago. That, these are not just examples for us to, these are eternal examples, yes, that are required for us to stay in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise we would be finished. Those people who have really sacrificed so much. Yes, I know, again, I can go on, but you're welcome to leave. It's like Mother Jayanti and those guys, when they came, they said that every house was infested with rats and roaches. Every house. And so they used to leave all their kids in one house with one Mataji or Prabhuji. And then they used to go on Sankirtan. Yes, this whole temple was built just by their efforts. Yes, Krishna house where they all stay in. Radha Vinod Prabhu and Indranila Mataji. She was very, very rich. But she used to go out. She was very popular on the airports, distributing books and distributing incense and paintings. Yes. So much effort was put in. So much. And every penny. Tita, Yogamaya Mataji, go out, distribute books. They distribute paintings. They used to go to big... And, young girls. Mother Yogamaya joined when she was, 14 years old. Ran away from her house. Jashna, how old are you? 9? You have 5 more years and you can run away. Yes, to join Krishna consciousness in spite of their parents saying, no, we have received everything on a golden plate, and what they have done is incredible. Yes, and every penny that they received, they gave to Krishna. Yogi was born in a Sankirtan bus, like almost in a Sankirtan bus. She had contractions when they were traveling from one place to other on Sankirtan. Like, oh, water broke. Have to find a hospital in the middle of nowhere. Yes. This is the life that they lived for years and years and years and years and years. Yes. And now we are used to the comforts because of their sacrifice. The foundation of Krishna consciousness is because of the sacrifice of so many devotees. I don't even know what Shamsundar Prabhu must have done. I don't know where it's from. So maybe we should have him give class one day. What do you think of that? Tomorrow. He was at home and he broke his arm. Maybe we should beat him up so he can give class. It is based on the foundation of sacrifice, and it will continue to be strengthened by the sacrifice of so many devotees. Yes. It will continue. And so, we shouldn't be shying away from the austerity of sacrifice. We should be looking forward to that. And that sacrifice will make us happy, will bring us together. Do we agree? Yes. The sacrifice brings people together. Gratitude. Hari Sauri Prabhu in his book says, gratitude is a sign of intelligence. Yeah. Like Krishna gives that intelligence when we are grateful. So, thank you so much. I'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.